Hello. I'm happy to be,
Hello.
I'm happy to be here with y'all. And I'm hungry, so there may be eating involved. And
No worries. No worries at all. This is just a conversation amongst friends.
I love those earrings. Danae, is
Thank you.
that how to say it? Or,
Danae,
Yeah,
yes.
Danae.
The feathers, those are beautiful.
That's really fun because I just got done saying to Shada, I love your earrings. I literally just said that to her. That's so funny.
Yeah,
Oh.
mine don't show up as well. Yeah.
Not with your, those are gorgeous.
Oh, they're so beautiful.
Yeah.
Garnets?
They do gorgeous stuff here.
Are those garnets in there?
No, they're green.
Oh, okay. I can't tell on the camera then. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's hard to tell because it's kind of dark in here.
Cecilia, geographically, where are you?
Houston, Texas.
Oh, cool.
My hometown.
Oh.
Did you know that?
You know, I think I saw on your website at some point that you used to live in Houston, and it went through my mind just like, how did I miss her back then, you know? And then I forgot. So
I grew up there. I grew up in Timber Grove Manor.
oh, wow.
Where in town are you?
I'm out on the west side off of Barker Cypress.
Okay. Yeah, I lived in Timber Grove Manor most of my life, and I moved to Baytown in 74, I think, and then I moved to California in 79 or 77. So have you always lived in Houston?
No, but I've always lived in Texas. There were a couple of times that I thought I was going to move, once to Colorado and once to Alaska, but they fell through, and I'm still in Texas.
So,
I've been in Houston since 82. Yeah, long time, 82.
so I wanted to ask you, Shada, are you noticing she sounds like she's underwater to me? There's a lot of wobble and interference.
I'm getting a little bit of wobble, but not a lot.
Okay.
Talk again, Cecilia.
Okay, I may have still been chewing, and it may
I don't.
just be my voice.
No, it's a technical sound.
Technical? Okay.
I hear it a little bit, but not a whole lot.
If it's
Okay.
distracting, I can
And
walk.
I'm used to that with wobbly internet for years in Colorado as well as here.
If it's distracting, I can log in on my phone instead.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Do you want me to?
Shada doesn't seem to be hearing you the way I'm hearing you, so maybe I'm gonna. Well, let's just see what happens.
If it's too intense, let us know, Danae.
Okay.
Now I'm hearing something funny.
My cat.
Oh, well, I was chatting briefly with Danae before we started, and I was reminded that my dogs needed to be put in the other room because they went crazy and started barking all over the place. So no worries. All right, let's settle ourselves in. It doesn't look like anybody else is going to join us right now. So, Cecilia, I'm lighting a sprig of sage here. And metaphorically, I'm going to clear all of us. And quiet the energies. Oh, we get to see you from two places, Cecilia. That's so cool.
This is what you looked like the other day, Shada.
Is it?
Oh yeah, there were two of you.
Oh my gosh. I think I was actually in two Zoom rooms, and I think we were getting feedback, and that's why the sound was so wonky.
The visual's more stable to me, Cecilia.
Okay. Trying to find a place that I can put my cell phone in. There we go.
There we go. All right, let's breathe deeply, close our eyes. And once again, I want to invoke the angels, the archangels, Ariel, Uriel, Gabriel, Michael, Raphael, Zadkiel. And I also invoke our teachers, our ancestors, our guides, all of our allies. And ask that you be present in this conversation, that we can hear truth and speak truth and learn from each other. And may our hearts be woven together in grace and compassion. Aho, and so it is.
Aho. So it is.
So the things that I said we were going to talk about, Cecilia, because Danae and I started talking about this in a conversation recently. So what is perception? Where do we focus it, and what happens when we focus it in one area as opposed to others? Does holding our vibration high protect us from pain in 3D? How do we deal with, quote, bad things that happen to us? So these are the sorts of things that I want to talk about. And I want us to get real serious with ourselves, because we're spiritual beings who are kind of on the pioneering edge in some ways of consciousness, because we're living it, we're working to be examples. And we're talking a lot about keeping our vibration high. And there's several reasons for that. It keeps you healthier, it keeps you happier, you're less of a target for attracting the things you don't want to, because vibration responds to vibration. So how do we manifest things in our lives? When we're holding our vibration high and something happens, how do we interpret that? That's a good place to start. So who has some ideas?
So can you just make like a succinct question out of that to focus the energy for me? What's the question we're addressing?
Does holding your vibration high protect you from pain in third dimensional reality?
Thank you.
Some of it, I think. I mean, it can protect you, but because of your focus, I think it can protect you from a lot of the self-created things.
Right.
And I don't think it's going to protect you from pain. I don't think it will, but it can certainly protect us from suffering.
Oh, good. All right, describe the difference.
Well, pain can be like anything from physical to the sense of loss, to a sense of loss, which is, what I usually think of when I think of pain. But, grief is a thing that you go through, and suffering is the add-on of anything from it shouldn't be this way to I made this happen to, okay, I'm never going to be happy again to, on and on and on. And we're often not even aware we're doing it to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Right. I agree with what you...
And I call those the stories. It's the stories we carry, the overlay on top of the what is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it is the stories, and this is an important part of how we shift things. In fact, in Native American tradition, there's an office, like a shaman, but it's a storyteller. And the storyteller's job is to hear an experience and to reframe it from a more cosmic perspective. And it's extremely powerful. And I've written about this because I had this firsthand experience when I went on a vision quest, and it was uncomfortable and cold, and there were all kinds of things that happened, among which was losing all the food, even though it was locked inside the cabinet, to a very inventive little raccoon. So I got back miserable and not able to figure out what the hell had happened. And I called my friend Woody Bailey, who was an Apache storyteller. So he started recounting this story, and he had all the details that I had given him. There was one point where he said, and she wasn't done suffering, and da 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 da. And my soul went, what? Fuck that. And it was a turning point. It was really in my face where I was causing myself suffering. And I didn't have to do that anymore. So that's an example of reframing, and it's an example of changing the story so you can change how you respond to the story and how it looks in your life.
Yeah.
I
had
think
read
that. And I want to contribute a piece around being awake to what we're experiencing in our bodies. Because usually our stories that we're not aware that we have will show up as pain through the body, or sensations through the body, or digestion going off, or just different ways that the body collapses under that energy. And if we pay attention to our bodies as a ground and an anchor, it helps us navigate and helps us see what's happening in our thinking, because it registers in our bodies. So when you're thinking of thought that's in alignment with your heart and your purpose and your call, and you think of it as, yes, I am living that, and then you experience that as your truth, and then you act from there, that's a very different way of experiencing the life through the body than the being in the story, which is the weaving of pain and the add-ons, like you said, which causes the suffering, and experiencing that in the body. So the body is a great ground to come to register how are we thinking and how are we feeling. And I know I have to do that a lot. My body has to be my anchor for my spirit, you know, and reading the energy. What's that like for you both?
That's definitely been a part of my process. So at this point, the story I just told you happened in 2004, I think, or earlier. So this is 19. So I've had 15 years to practice doing things differently since then. Nowadays, my body talks to me all the time. I'm very aware of my thoughts, and I communicate with my thoughts, and I observe them, and I communicate with the guides. So this sort of thing rarely hits me anymore. But I think that we are moving into such different energetic constructs that we need to look for ways in which we're unknowingly blocking or creating stuff. And that may sound a little vague, so I want to get more specific. Danae and I were talking on the weekend, and one of the things we talked briefly about is something that I have been getting tons of information from my guides and teachers about, and that is the Disclosure Project, the movement to reveal the role that extraterrestrials and intraterrestrials make in human reality. And it's another case of bad guys and good guys that seems to be universal in this reality. And so the question came up about how to integrate that kind of information into our lives, and what difference does it make. And I don't perceive this as I'm not afraid of any of this, but I see it as a pivotal shift in the collective consciousness when people actually realize the extent to which the government has lied, the extent to which they've withheld technologies from this planet that could save people's lives and reverse ecological devastation. So this is what I'd like us to explore more deeply, because this is just one topic. There are others, but we're here on the planet as hollow bones to help raise consciousness, raise the vibration, to do whatever our personal gifts are. So what do you think about all that? Talking stick pass to who wants to talk? Cecilia?
I think Cecilia, because you and I talked a lot about this together. I'm very interested in your take, Cecilia.
Well, it's a lot of information. It's not that that I don't have some concept of all this anyway, but I'm not privy to what your guides have shared with you, and I haven't kept up in forever with with any one train of thought. My focus has been much more in the last few years, and for the first time maybe in this lifetime, on the things that I can observe, with my eyes more. And so what you said is it's not like a surprise or anything, but it's like one more, oh dear God, now what? It's
Yeah.
a little bit,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the planet is that a lot of people here are so deeply asleep and so intentionally asleep that I don't know. I don't know what's going to be coming. I don't know how it will show up.
Mm-hmm.
And it may take really a great deal for a lot of people to even believe what's in front of them.
That's obvious. It's kind of it's undeniable. I mean, we're seeing it all around us. And that's another question. What is causing that? Because Carolyn Myss said that the people of the United States are enspelled. And so what if mind control is being used by the government? What if toxins are deliberately being injected into the air and the water and the earth and all this? Because we're seeing that. And the organization that's supposed to protect us is instead giving them free rein. So we're in bodies, we're on the planet. Besides prayers and kind thoughts, what do we do? How do we deal with this? How do we integrate it? Does it affect us at all? And maybe it does some of us and not others. Maybe this is part of my journey and not yours. That would be okay. But it's
what is the it that how does it affect us?
Different things. If we already know things are coming down in the government that we can see that are not necessarily anything to do with anything spiritual, apparently, okay? And there's an increasing wave of information of things beyond that coming out that shift our perspective of who's trustworthy, who's not trustworthy, how can we protect ourselves from what's coming down, and where is this information going to take us? So it could be political, it could be financial, it could be environmental. I mean, all these things are happening now. Environmentally, things are stirred up.
Let me know when I can pop in.
Okay, it's not about being afraid. It's about broadening the perspective to consider possibilities that might change how we interact with what's going on. Okay, I'm done, Danae, go.
So while you're sharing that, I'm being reminded that about 30 years ago, I used to channel a group consciousness called the Starlight Brotherhood, and they were very much like in your books, UFO ship brethren and sisters and stuff like that. And it was at a very new agey time of my development. And I got very crystal clear channeling about current times. And they said in about 25 years, you will be seeing the structures that have been in place on every front in your human collaboration starting to wobble and come apart. And that's happening because the golden grid around the earth of consciousness is starting to come into form and take embodiment. and therefore the old structures are being obliterated, and there's a wobble, and we're coming out as a new birth consciousness and the planet herself and the embodiment we're all having. And I was shown all of that, and it was like, you know, look ahead in about 25 years, and that's when everything started, and they kept popping in and saying, this is what we were telling you, it's happening, you're in the middle of it happening. So there's also, in my personal opinion and experience, this greater cosmic divine plan that's happening that is a force for the highest good. And my perspective is, as long as we're intending for the highest good for everyone, everywhere, all the time, I don't think there's anything we have to do about it other than keeping our consciousness positioned to manifest that which we're calling in, and the rest has to melt away. I think that when we're called to right action, like a vote or an action or whatever on the physical plane, in our human bodies, whenever there's a call to action from within, we are to follow that and take action as guided. However, I think the whole general platform, if we're positioning our consciousness, we use the pull the camera back exercise and position our consciousness to the divine consciousness that's operating through us, then we see everything from that point of view, we manifest from that point of view, and we call it forth from that point of view, thereby we materialize it. And I feel like the women in this tribe and in this wisdom council and in the world who have the knowledge, the hollow bones you said, they have the instinctual knowledge as birth givers to birth consciousness. I think that's what we're doing. I think we're in the middle of a grand birth.
Oh, I do too. But it's very convoluted. I think it's way more layered and complicated than we have any idea. I hear what you're saying, Danae, and I think that's the cosmic perspective is that everything is perfect, which it always is, even when our bodies and our everything, every other part of us is going through something else. I think my concern is about keeping a line between the cosmic perspective and my own actions. You know, I feel like my books are part of it. I have been guided to be more vocal about waking up and standing up and people making choices. And it's not about telling them what to do. It's about asking them the questions that make them think about what to do. Because you can't tell anybody else what to do. You can't tell anybody else what's right for them. You can't tell anybody else what their spiritual path has to look like, or their process, or any of that. That is so completely individual to the soul. But I do want to wake them up. And as somebody who has pretty much played it safe most of my life, this is a new thing for me. How do you see it, Cecilia?
I appreciate what you're saying about that being a new thing for you.
It is new for me. It's like, stand up, and it's like, but they're going to see me, and they say, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And to a large extent, I mean, there have been times in my life when I have been very vocal, and then something would happen that I would like take a hit, you know, and I would shut down and I would get very small and I would hide.
Yep.
And so now it's like a daily question, you know, okay, what do I say? What do I repeat? Even, I become exhausted and overwhelmed with the information that reflects the lies and the, you know, and I have at times I've tried to like, you know, I don't know, on an individual basis, it's hard for me to choose, you know, even what to read, much less what to share.
Yeah.
And my limited circle of influence at this time, you know, I don't know that many people are going to be open to what it is that I see in things.
And that's a big part of it. You know, if we see things differently, how do we share that? I want to interject briefly Cecilia. Danae, Cecilia's written an incredibly beautiful book about a young transgender child and what that little boy has to go through.
Oh,
It's-
lovely.
It is. It's a beautiful book called The Heart of the Matter.
Oh, I love the title.
Uh-huh. And I think that's the kind of book that could change people's lives, especially a kid or the parents of a kid that knows it needs to be the other and its parents haven't accepted it yet.
What a
So
beautiful service.
It is a beautiful service. So in terms of vibration, I don't know, for me, it just seems to be ongoingly fluid. It's like I'm not told what to do next week anymore, except in general terms. But it's flowing and feeling okay. It's almost like I do use my organizational skills. I've had tons of time management training and yada, yada, yada. So all of that's there. And yet I feel like my time is being managed more from a soul level than from a mental level.
I like that idea.
It's easier for me because when I try to do it from my head, I immediately go into anxiety. When I do it from a soul place, it's like, okay. And they're saying, you can trust yourself. Just go ahead and do it. It's okay. And so I sign up, and then as it comes, I just deal with it one thing at a time. So it's very different from the kind of planning we're being taught, or we were taught, that has been effective in the past, but that I don't find for myself to be useful anymore, because all it does is, I mean, it gets changed because things come up. It's just not the primary tool.
I'm in awe of people that get things done, that manage to plan, things months in advance, because I don't see myself as even capable of that at this point in time.
Well, at this point in time, I also feel like things are changing so fast that if we try to plan too far ahead, it's not going to work anyway. Something will have shifted. Go ahead, Danae.
I find that I'm living by pretty much how you describe Shada. It's all the flow, and the flow is carrying itself and taking me with it. And I find that for me, another thing that I employ that feels good to me is to have an intention when I wake up in the morning. I just wake up and I start with an intention. And this is in my Soul-Centered Wealth Training book. So I want to share it because it's really powerful. And the statement is, I'll just model it. Like my intention is, today I intend to be an instrument for love and grace and light and inspiration to pour through. It's not like my intention is to eat the right thing for breakfast. It could be that too. But I find for me that I position my intent at the start of the day, and that sets the stage for how the energies flow, if that makes sense. So even if I go into a wobble and I skid into a bad mood or a huffy moment, there's something about that intention that rises right to the moment and says, this is your intention. And I become spacious and expand, and I move with the flow of love. So it helps me hit when those kinks happen, it helps me just navigate right through them. I love that. I love
That's
living.
That's a great
like
idea.
that. Love living following spirit. And honestly, I think my life left to my own personality's hands, not so much.
Pretty much mine too.
Yeah, but go ahead.
That's what you're teaching in the group that you're about to release, to develop, Living by Intuition.
Yes.
Why don't you talk about that a little more?
Okay, great. So first of all, thank you for inviting me to do that, because I'm really excited, and it's all your fault.
Yay, me.
Go you, go you, go you. So so I'm starting a group. We're going to go live on May 1st, and prior to then, I'm loading it up with goodies. The purpose is, it's called Spirit Muse Life by Intuition, Your Magic Carpet Ride. because I've trained thousands of people to live by their intuition successfully, and their lives have become like these fluid magic carpet rides because they have the skills to navigate by their wisdom and guidance. So I train people to live that way. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun to do a 1 month, like take the 31-day Good Vibe Challenge and give people another platform to step into from there and say, hey, let me train you in how to use your intuition consciously for the next 30 days. It's all free. And then bring Shada in as one of my guest teachers and these other people and really teach a lot from my 6-month training program. And it all came to me. I'm like, yes. So I'm really excited. And, you know, I thank you, Shada, because of journeying with you in this. This is my response to the 31-day Good Vibe Challenge. This is my demonstration of my 31-day Good Vibe Challenge, is to launch my own Facebook group. So thank you. So that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
That sounds
so.
wonderful.
I think it's going to be wonderful. I helped Danae, Spirit Muse. I love that name.
Yeah.
As she was doing was it 6 months, Danae, your apprenticeship that you did?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And just watching those women grow and let go of things that weren't serving them, become more peaceful, become more empowered and clearer about how to live their lives. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you. Those women's lives today are they're living from a completely different place. It's like it's sustainable because it's permanent learning. They're not skill sets you can forget because we embody them and we play with them and it's fun. It's like much more fun to live this way. You just want to.
Yeah,
so thank
exactly.
You for those words. So you can hop on over, Cecilia. It's already up. It's live.
It's already up, and we'll announce it so everybody can go over there. And it's a wonderful project. So that's one that I want us all to support and pray for. I saw that Autumn had put up the support for her fast. I put up that I want support for my book launch because, you know, I don't know if you remember, Cecilia, I haven't put it too much in the group yet. I have to do that because I forget about the Academy. But I'm relaunching book 1 on Saturday, 2 weeks later, book 2.
Oh, fantastic.
And, yeah. So I'm going to put that up, and I have a new giveaway on my website. So be sure and go get your copy of Ceremony, Call Yourself Home. It's a book about ceremony, about how to do it, because I want everybody to know they have all the tools they need to do any of these things. They don't need a guru. They don't need to go take a course. They don't need to yada, yada, yada. Just do what you know to do, and then you grow into whatever's next. So I'm growing so much through this process that it's fun. It's challenging. It's stretching me. Sunday night I woke up, anxiety attack.
Shada and I Sunday night we spent 2 hours carrying each other through the waves of energy. Like, I did this and I did that, and we, me too, yeah, man. And like we were just like, you know, energetic brain dump and using our intuition to be like, what is it that we're dealing with? We got these downloads and they were so helpful, and that sparked today's conversation.
Exactly. Because, you know, we are in this process. It is a process of evolution. And what I feel is important for me to do is to try to notice the subtle changes and shifts that indicate what's happening, and then to question into that. Because sometimes we're doing well and we don't know it. Sometimes we're not doing well and we don't know it. So how do we interpret these shifts and changes so that our intuition has the information? Excuse me. So I'm excited. You know, it's a fun time. I feel the flow. I feel like the energies are carrying me, and even when I get down and tired, they let me rest, and sometimes they lift me up when I don't expect it. You know, I will have an unexpected burst of energy or insight or an elevation of my emotions, and it's wonderful. It's so cool.
It's a much more fun way to live.
It
Much more
is.
fun.
It's totally more fun.
Yeah.
I am the happiest at this point in my life that I think I've ever been. And I've been pretty happy a lot of my life. But
And,
it's wonderful.
and so, like, you're on this magic carpet ride.
I am on a magic carpet ride because I do live by
yeah.
my intuition.
Yeah.
So I think it's a wonderful service that you've done by organizing it so that people can see a pattern and
Yeah.
can see steps to follow the pattern
Yeah.
and move into an easier way to live.
Yes,
What
exactly.
is the name of the group again? What is the name?
It's Spirit Muse Life
Living by intuition.
Living by Intuition.
All right, great.
A
Thank you.
magic carpet ride. Yeah.
Your magic carpet ride, or Life by Intuition. I think it's Life by Intuition, your magic carpet ride. And
Okay.
and Shada said she'll put the link up in this 31-day Facebook group and formally introduce it. So
Yeah.
Are there more questions for us that we need to?
There were ones, no, we didn't have any questions except the ones we wrote up.
Mhm.
So what happens if we think a lot about what's wrong and what's broken? And I think we basically talked about that.
Mhm.
We pretty much all know if you focus too much on the negative, it drags you down. And we talked about whether holding our vibration high protects us from pain. And I think it does to a large degree because a lot of our pain comes from the stories that we are still living. So when we change our vibrational rate, we are automatically letting go of some of the denser energies that have held us down. And it can protect us from, I'll call them predatory vibrations, energies that are out looking to make trouble. It does not necessarily protect us from a confluence of events that embraces not just us, but everybody around us. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
What do you
so-
mean by confluence of events? A series of things happening?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So our house may be on dry ground and high enough so the flood doesn't get us, but then the tornado comes around and it may not hit us, but it hits the rest of the neighborhood. So we're still alive and even safe, but there's no more trees and there's no more neighbors. See where I'm going with this? Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Mhm. Like a domino effect.
It is a domino
Yeah.
effect. So we're here on the planet. We're still subject to the laws of gravity. We still need food, water, and shelter. We can deal with it differently. And at this point, I want to reference, Viktor Frankl, because I read Man's Search for Meaning years and years and years ago. And the thing that I brought away from it was the choice that we have about how we're going to see things and who we're going to be in that context. He described in detail the forced march to the labor from the barracks to where they were working, a mine or something like that, with people bloodied feet, and the struggle internally not to become as brutal as they were being brutalized. The decision that to live from the soul, to live from a place of love and consciousness in spite of the brutality around him. And I think that's what we're being asked to do today.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And this, I think, is where we are working as authors, Cecilia. We are presenting stories and asking people to choose how they're going to be in response to that scenario. And it's helpful for them because it gives them a safe place to experience the emotions that want to come up. So it's not in their face as much as if it's an actual lived thing, right, that they have to deal with. And hopefully it will stimulate some thoughts, stimulate some reflection and conversation and internal decisions about who do you want to be in the world and how do you want to be in the world. And there were probably other people just as wise as Viktor Frankl who actually died and never got to share that they had learned that. Maybe some people allowed themselves to descend into hatred and despair, but people could have died that had also chosen the light. and chosen to be loving in response to the brutality, and they still died. So they're unsung heroes. We don't know about them. We could write a story about them, but would make it up. But that's just as important, isn't it?
You're sparking all sorts of ideas there, Barbara.
Wonderful. That's why we want to have these conversations.
I just took a trip down memory lane of all the years I was a nanny. You know how many children's books I read? And the best books were those that gave a pivotal shift in perspective from judgment to pure unconditional love and even magical in a digestible way, just like alter the parent's consciousness and support the child's soul. And that's what you're both doing with your books. I've read, I admit, I've read the first 3 books of Barbara's, and I'm like totally addicted. Like I was haunting her. When is the next one coming? I kept rereading them because they're so addicting, because they're truth in extraordinary stories through characters, and the whole thing is a storytelling that gives you recognition and relief and acknowledgement of what's going on, the major issues on the planet, wrapped in brilliant spiritual teaching that's served up as a story weaving, and it's completely addicting.
Which is what I hope to do.
God, you're so good at it. So thank you both for being authors. I personally appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. I don't think we can not be authors, can we, Cecilia?
I would be quite insane if I stopped writing now.
I would too. I mean, if I don't write enough, it's like spiritual constipation.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And the flow keeps things moving, you know. And it's all about energy. So it's a flow of love too. And I've thought about also, think about how many people are writing now. So how many people are learning about who they are through what they write?
Yes.
That's one way in which the internet has been this huge gift, because we can now put ourselves out there. We can put our thoughts out there.
Yeah.
And it gives people a chance to do things they never could have done before. I mean, think about how few famous writers there were up until 100 years ago. And even in the last, well, since the internet, because the internet isn't that old. But now the internet, I mean, there are millions more writers. There are millions more books, which means people are thinking and creating. And the same is true of music, Danae.
Yeah.
Cecilia, Danae's been a musician ever since, well, I don't know, were you a musician before your awakening?
I always liked being in choir in schools, but I was a singer before my spiritual awakening. Yes, I've been a musician a very long time.
But after her spiritual awakening, it took a whole different direction, and it has become one of her primary gifts. In fact, Cecilia, one of the things I'm releasing is a medicine song for my book series that Danae did for me. It is amazing. It's so much fun.
So much fun.
The medicine song for the Shaman Chronicles.
So,
that is so perfect.
So over on Spirit Muse, it's to bring more of that, like to mix up our worlds together. So
yes,
you know that I channel soul medicine songs, and so Shada and I both got the message that the Shaman Chronicles right now, while my partner and I are working on writing the theme song for the movie, that it needs a soul medicine song, and we got that message I think on the same morning. So I just went into the studio with my dear friend Bob Wiz. We've been collaborating for 13 years, and we just improvise together. So we go into silence, we make a prayer, and then we let go. There's no discussion about the music or anything.
Or the content.
Or the content or the topic. He doesn't even know her books. He doesn't know anything.
He's never read anything. But
Right.
Wait till you hear it. It just touches you so deeply.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So it turns out that, not knowing anything, the night before I got there, he laid down all these music tracks. Oh, that's weird. Someone's trying to call in.
Really?
Oh, it's Jordan. Your assistant is calling me.
Oh, well, ignore him for the moment.
Um,
He forgot we're on a call.
yeah. So what happened is her song came through. It just, he put the headphones on me, and simultaneously, the words are coming out of my mouth as the music is going into my ears. And it just comes out of me. I have no idea what I'm singing. And it's like her book in musical format. And Bob, knowing nothing, made the most phenomenal music for me to channel over. It's amazing.
And it's all channeled. But the fun part is after they listened to it, Bob said, why don't you consider putting down a little harmony? And she had never done that. So she was telling me she was so resistant. He just started playing, and wait till you hear the harmony. It is.
Thank you. Well, so as a singer, I've done harmonies for years and years, but in channeling, I wasn't hearing a harmony is what was happening. He said, you should channel a harmony over this part. And I was like, but my singer vocal coach self, I'm not hearing anything to do. And he said, it doesn't matter. And he put the headphones on and he pressed record. And all of a sudden, my body just automatically spit out these harmonies. And as the harmonies were happening, I'm in my personality going, holy shit, listen to that. It was so much fun. I was like, I want to learn how to really sing that way. You know, I was like, it was being done. It was,
Yeah.
We had fun.
We had a wonderful time. So for us, this is an example of spirit at work and intuitive living at work. Danae and I have been close friends since 2012. And we've done things together before, but the timing, the projects have just aligned in a way that we never expected. And it's glorious.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so encouraging.
And this is when you made the 31-day Good Vibe Challenge.
Yeah.
It's inviting each of us to go to our next level as we feel called to. And for you and I, in our friendship, it ends up looking like this. It's like, oh, we're going out in the world as business partners together now. And
yeah,
well, who knew that was going to come out of this? Like we've co-facilitated before, but not to this scale. That's awesome.
And for me, this is all spiritual work too. I mean, and the ideas for the Good Vibe Challenge and the Strategic Sisterhood of Divine Disorder group that's coming right after it, those were downloads. I can't claim credit for it. I mean, I know how to do stuff like that, but it was like, okay, this is what you do next. And it's like, okay. So they give me the project and then I know, oh, if I'm going to do that, then I have to set up a page and I have to get people to interview. And so I made a list of all the power women that I know. I had 24 names on the list to call to interview. And you're one of them, Cecilia. I love the questions you sent back. So we'll talk about that offline. But
okay, great. Thank you.
Yes.
I had meant to connect with you again about that. And I have been in a state of exhaustion for a while.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I come up for air and I'll have moments when I'm just like light as a feather and then I have to sleep, you know, and some days I fight that. Today I fought it and it didn't do any good.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are some days that, you know, that I know that it's right on, even that is where I need to be. Like Sunday, I wanted to be part of that meditation Sunday. I mean, there was just no question. And I, unlike like the first one, I had it on my calendar. I had it, you know, on my alarm even. I set my alarm, get up like 3 hours early and do, so I'd have time to do the things. Well, I didn't have the energy to do the things or the focus.
Yeah.
And so it was like an hour before time. And I was like, I can either shower or I can eat or I can sleep another hour. So I slept. I mean, that was the thing that my body said do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I did that, it wasn't until, I mean, it was an interesting experience and it was, I liked it, but it wasn't until in the meditation when Barbara talked about we're stepping into the body of the dove and then into the hawk, the specifically red-tailed hawk. while I was sleeping, I dreamed of red-tailed hawks. And that was such a beautiful confirmation to me. And it was very unusual too. It was like I was right in the spot that I was sleeping in, and I was looking through my wall, and there was a hawk way up on a perch, and that isn't actually there outside. And first, some prey. I'm not even sure what the prey was. It was probably a squirrel because we have so many of those here. But one came by and the hawk missed it. And I was like, okay, I was happy for the prey, you know? And then the next one, the hawk caught it. And then I was happy for the hawk, you know?
Because they're just doing what they came to do.
Yeah. And then it soared like straight up. And I looked up and I followed it. And then there was almost like a dance of these hawks in the sky above. And so that was really moving. And then in the meditation, you mentioned the hawk, and I'm like, okay, I have a place here. Okay.
That's amazing. That's so beautiful. And so the way it is.
Exactly. And that's the kind of synchronicity that we expect and that they give us all the time. And just so you know, I was told specifically, say the red-tailed hawk.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Thank you for telling me.
Yes, I was. It was very clear. So synchronicity is one of the most fun things in the whole universe.
It is. So is.
I just love living like that. It's just so precious. Look at that joy on you.
I know.
It's like, yes, who wouldn't want to live like this? You know, like this.
Exactly.
And this, honestly, it's a strong personal opinion and I own it. I don't see any other way to make it through. I agree. We have to be divinely guided at this juncture as a human species. We must be divinely guided, and it's up to each of us to choose to open that door of communication or not.
Right.
It's for everyone.
And it is for everyone. And what we're hoping to do is give people the tools so that they can hear their guidance and hear the confirmation and be more joyful and more fluid. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to speak to the physical part of it too, because I'm experiencing the need for a lot more rest and have been.
Me too.
Taking care of the body is really critical at this point. And my understanding is that we are being worked on, that our bodies are being helped to change from carbon-based to crystalline-based because that can hold more light. And we don't know what that looks like or feels like, except that we need to rest. We need to take really good care of ourselves, the right nutrition, the right food, and being kind and gentle and all those sorts of things. So I'm really glad you listened to your body. And I encourage you not to feel too down about it. Maybe they're working on you, especially right now, and you can just relax and know, okay, they're going to make me crystalline. I'm going to be a clear crystal. I'm going to be a conduit for love.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Yeah, every time you go to take a nap, you go to sleep, you could just lay down and say, my intention is to be available to have my crystalline brought online. Take me out. You know? Woo!
Exactly.
Like consciously align with what's happening, but consciously align with it and be like, yeah, let's do this.
Absolutely.
I have to tell you a result that happened with Shada. When Shada and I spent 2 hours speaking Sunday night, one of the things you taught me, we were just talking, but one of the things that you noted that I don't do was to ask for an energy cleanse and an energy reset when going to sleep. So I do something different, but I really like that idea. And Cecilia, I've been feeling exhausted, depleted, like needing to sleep, on the edge of emotion all the time. And I don't normally feel that way. And it was all week long and for a little bit before. So that night I went to bed and I called that in and I said, help work on my energy, clear me and restore me and work on my energy. And my soul felt depleted. I mean, I was like, I had nothing. Went to sleep and I had the most extraordinary night of vivid lucid dreaming I've had in years. and it was all love and people in love and my partner and my son, and everything was emanating love. And there was a celebration of rebirth happening for me. And it was like this whole rebirth party. And then Lloyd, my partner, and I went to the window of this beautiful home we were in, looked out, and tulips and all kinds of wild spring life was like 5 foot high everywhere in brilliant universe, multiverse colors and earth colors. And it was like, whoa! And by the time I woke up, I was like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I was completely restored, like 100% saturated in love. So that's a powerful practice.
It is a powerful practice. And another thing we can do when we feel very depleted is just to sit very still and run energy. Bring in the white and gold light in through your crown. Bring the green and gold light in through the soles of your feet, your perineum, because it's coming up from the earth. And you bring them in and you let them circle around your heart. And then you send the earth energy up to heaven and the heaven energy down to earth. So you're a conduit. And as it passes through you, it cleanses and energizes.
I love that.
So try that and see if that does help with the energy some.
I will do that. Thank you. Thank you.
This has been so much fun, ladies.
Yeah, it's been a great hour. Thank you both.
It's a delight to be able to talk about these things. I spent much of my life yearning to have people with whom I could have these kinds of conversations, because it helps you figure things out. It confirms your perceptions. It gives you peace to know that you're not alone on the journey, and you have friends and beloveds and all kinds of people helping. So thank you so much for showing up. Thank you, Cecilia. It's been a delight. And Danae, always.
Yep.
So I'm going to thank the angels for coming. I'm going to thank the angels for all the ways they are always helping us, that even when we're not aware. We know they're there. We know that they are ambassadors of divine love. We know that we are angels in training. I have no idea how long it takes to get trained, but we're in the process. So it's wonderful to have that kind of support. Thank you, angels. And I now release you. And everybody have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Bye, ladies. It was wonderful.
Bye, darling.